say you wanna watch a drama. You say you wanna watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama, or you can watch it with your daddy. You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler, so you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night. Couch potatoes unite. Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite. Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name because we couch potatoes can unite in various formats. I don't know why I have a question mark on the end of that, probably because we are already uniting in various formats, but why not add one more? My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. But Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders in the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. But we're not the only ones. Recently, you might have noticed that voices from other podcasts have been uniting with us, regularly united couch potatoes, and tonight's episode proves to be no exception to this growing trend. Brian and Rick of local podcast Connect Grand Rapids, a podcast pursuing the vaulted mission of showcasing our lovely and vibrant hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan. You know, Michigan isn't just about Big Gretch and the Freedom Fighters. Reached out to CPU! Under the guise of seeking solid TV binge recommendations for quarantine viewing. And of course, we were only too happy to oblige. Of course, the conversation drifted in or around quarantine binging, as any good pop culture discussion will. Listen up as frequent panelists Nick and yours truly, Chief Couch Potato Kylie, make our quarantine binge recommendations on behalf of our United Couch Potatoes and stake our claims and our names to some of our favorite TV shows of all time. Enjoy this special encore presentation of Connect Grand Rapids' April 27th, 2020 episode, Good Old-Fashioned TV Binging. And of course, because this is their podcast, we're foregoing our usual introductory stuff. We will resume our regularly scheduled Wednesday podcast releases when our DCTU series panel returns to the water cooler next week to recap and review Season 8, the final season of Arrow, and to look back at the whole show now that 8 seasons of the gorgeous Hearts, Stephen and Mel in a green hood are in our respective rearview mirrors. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. The panel will express themselves thusly, I'm sure. Anyway, take it away, Brian and Rick.
By saying we are very low pressure, and by low pressure, I mean like we're not trying to grill you for answers to a burning question, but we've been sitting on.
I do have some burning questions.
Sit down, Rick. So hold on. We have been sitting on our couch for too long. This is like that desert island scenario that we all ask our friends. Like, if you're stuck on a desert island, what TV shows do you bring with you? And we're all stuck on a desert island at home, and we have every TV show imaginable at our hands, or every movie, anything is possible. And now we're stuck here on week 3 or 4. I don't even know what day it is.
I've lost track of time. It's definitely over a week.
Yeah. So.
Yes.
Yeah, so
eternity is about right.
The real test has begun. How do you deal with as a person who's an aficionado of binge watching things? How do you actually take this as an opportunity or take this as a challenge? This is insane.
I would say for Couch Potatoes Unite folks, it's business as usual. So I don't know what you want.
Is it ramped up though? Is it like an overdrive?
Not for me personally, but maybe for some of our folks. Yeah. I mean, Nick can speak to it if he thinks it's been ramped up on his end, but I think I'm at the same pace I've always been.
It's not.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it's not really ramped up for me, but it's equally as difficult for me to watch certain shows just because I have little kids, so I have to wait for them to go to bed. So that time hasn't opened up.
Yeah, you're in the same boat as Brian and I. We got to wait till after, which is why we're doing this late after 9:00. So the kiddos are in bed.
I mean, the kids aside, it's got to be liberating to be I'm staying at home and watching TV because I'm a hero, as opposed to the normal modus operandi, which I'm staying at home and watching TV because I'm antisocial.
Sure.
Yeah, it's got to feel liberating.
Paradigm
to have
has
that.
shifted.
I like
Exactly.
the reframing.
Exactly.
Brian's working on his foray into politics. He's working on reframing of things.
I'm just glad to talk to people. Like this is like the first time this week I've actually had to talk with like grown-ups. Like it's just me and a 5-year-old right now, and I have some really important theories about PJ Masks. That's what I have developed.
Yeah, my son, he doesn't want to wear anything but PJ Masks shirts, and he like harasses me to wear them.
Says the guy who wears nothing but Metallica t-shirts. Yeah, okay.
Oh, so your kid is actually introducing some variety into your wardrobe, is what you're saying?
I wish. No, they got to introduce brighter colors.
Oh, okay.
So let's get into it, because like Brian was saying, we're all stuck, and we got the boob tube. You guys are experts.
We like to think so.
Yeah. And I know you guys break it down kind of like episode basis on certain shows, or you'll go back and kind of talk about whole seasons.
Yep.
So let's kind of break format a little bit here.
Okay.
What are you watching right now? What are the top things for you right now?
Well, I actually went back and pulled and it's important to note that the Couch Potatoes Unite team is about 40 large right now, though I would say that 20 of them are more active than the other 20. We have some that come in and out and do one couple at a time, and then we have some like Nick who are on quite a few, and of course I host pretty much all of them, give or take. And I would say that the biggest ones right now that people have been talking about and that really they've been concentrating on in these quarantining times, we had Westworld was a popular one right now. It's currently airing its 3rd season on HBO.
Love that show.
Yeah, extremely intelligent, extremely layered, and a lot to pick apart. Some people really like some seasons and not others, and then others are like, this is the greatest show. So,
okay, let me get your thoughts on the 3rd season. Where do you currently stand on it? Is it as good as the 1st and 2nd?
I've only watched 2 episodes, so I can't make a judgment.
You haven't had, no one's had a chance to digest season 3, but if you had to pick between season 1 and season 2 being the one you would want to pick between the two, like the better season, is season 1 or season 2?
I know I personally, and I think our panel would agree that season 1 was the better season.
You're darn right. That's for sure.
Well, I'll give you the reason why. In my personal opinion, I think season 2 was actually really great. It just kind of didn't end as well.
Agreed.
Well, that's when they were.
But it was really good.
The writers were like, so we're getting another contract, so we don't really have to end it. So, I mean, I don't know, write something. Who cares? I don't know. Maybe all the robots go crazy at the end. Let's just write it in. It'll be fine. It worked for other HBO series, so.
Sure. Well, I like to think in our episodes that we were dissecting this season, I like to think that they actually did have a plan for that 2nd season, and I think they mostly followed the plan, but there were definitely some deviations, especially when they tried to tie all of the different strands of season 2 together, because I remember season 1 following a somewhat linear, if lost-like path, and then season 2 had more of a multi-strand story structure that then they tried to weave together at the end, and by that time you were going, wait, what just happened here? And then you thought about it and you processed it and you were like, okay, so that happened. And it was slower. The 2nd season was a lot slower, so I think at least our panel didn't respond as well to that. They felt much more riveted by the 1st season. I think I was probably one of the defenders of the 2nd season, but I do like the 1st season better.
I like the fact that the 1st season had the kind of, most people would say multiple timelines thing, and then finding out that William was the Man in Black was great. Sorry to spoil anybody.
Yes, spoil. We always say major
Come
spoilers.
on, Rick. I swear to God.
I'll
No,
bleep
This
it
is
out.
not the time.
So and so was so and so.
Right.
We got to move on, Rick. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
No spoiler.
So-
or just warn the spoilers ahead of saying the spoiler that we'll be out about too.
All right.
So
I broke my own rule too. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're in charge of editing this
I
thing.
thought yes, and I thought it's been long enough that people have maybe seen it. I don't know, but
no,
anyway.
you just ruined it for me. I haven't seen it yet.
Ah! Nick,
Don't forget.
you did not hear that.
Rick, the trick with tying a noose is that you got to wrap it around a couple of times and hold it kind of tight to the back of your neck, and you need to get about 10 feet to make sure that you get the job done. I don't know if you're picking up what I'm throwing down, but that's just letting you know.
Okay.
So maybe
Well,
we need
I'll
to
put that in the handbook.
we need to have someone explain to us Couch Potatoes United as a show, because I started listening to it fairly recently, and it's got all the elements that I like about someone who's picking apart a show. You're very articulate. You have very clear. You guys have great jokes, by the way. You guys are hilarious.
Thanks.
But
We try.
but break down Couch Potatoes United for us.
So essentially, I would say we're a garage podcast that has grown over a few years. It's a panel-based podcast. There is a moderator. It's mostly me, but it's not always me. In fact, Nick and Sarah and some of our other panelists that have been doing it a long time and are on a lot of panels are starting to do more moderating, which is great for me because then I can either sit back as a panelist and or not talk at all sometimes. I'm okay to do that. The panels are usually 3 to 7 people, and there are different features. So we have a water cooler feature, which is sort of the season by season or half season by half season breakdown that you were talking about, where we kind of cover a show over the length of its run in the season type format. We don't do episode by episode breakdowns because that's a lot of episodes and we like a lot of TV. We want to be able to flip around from different shows and different genres of shows. We also do looking back features. So this is the whole show kind of reminiscing about older shows that have been gone for a while or even some that might have been canceled recently. And we'll kind of talk about maybe what went right, what went wrong, what we loved, what we didn't. It's sort of a free-for-all discussion in that sense, but a lot of memory base. We do retrospectives. Those retrospectives are growing in number. We didn't do a lot of them at first, but we have done them sporadically, and they kind of right now follow along the lines of my favorite shows, but I'm hoping that will change. So we've done the X-Files, we've done the Buffyverse. We're currently doing a large Star Trek retrospective, which Nick is very excited about because he's the one who suggested it. We're covering each season of each show.
Oh, good, because I have strong feelings about the Star Trek universe.
Like, are you talking all in general, or break it down by Next Generation or the original?
An episode for each season
of each show. So we've already covered in 3 episodes the 3 seasons of the original series.
Okay.
We did 1 episode for the animated series, and we've already published 1 for the Next Generation.
So, question: when you guys watch the Voyager episodes, are you taking those seriously, or are those kind of like comedy?
Oh no! What? The Voyager episodes will be taken very seriously.
Yeah, because that's my favorite run of the Star Trek universe. I was gonna be mad if you're like, no, we're making fun of Voyager the entire time.
No, our Star Trek panel is 5 large of Star Trekkers. I think we'd all consider ourselves Trekkers.
They're called Trekkies.
Wait,
and thank you.
Wait. I have to interject here.
Okay.
And since Nick, since you're the one that's bringing this to everybody, I want you right now. You have 15 seconds. Convince me to watch Star Trek.
So you gotta go.
Give me your best case.
It is amazing sci-fi. It's probably the pinnacle of sci-fi. So if you like science fiction at all, Star Trek has done a lot of those sci-fi things better. And then it's just good storytelling mixed with cheesy, sometimes not great makeup, sometimes amazing science fiction. That probably didn't sell it on you, but
I want to swing at this.
No,
I want to
that's-
swing at to
that's,
try and
hold on.
convince
That's
Rick.
Planet
that
of
he's
the Apes, though, in a nutshell, because I love the original Planet of the Apes, and it starts off fantastic, great makeup and everything, and it starts to degrade over the course of the movies because the budget issues, but it's still great sci-fi,
No,
excellent
we're
storytelling.
talking about the Heston Planet of the Apes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's a very important distinction.
that's
yes.
that culminates with one of the best moments in cinema. Like, and you're gonna say that it gets worse as the movie goes on? No. Go find
no,
go
I
find that
didn't-
rope.
I
Ryan.
didn't-
Go find that rope.
No, I didn't say that. What I said was the series as a whole. So the budget was for the first movie, and each subsequent movie got less of a budget, so they had to kind of scale back the makeup effects and stuff.
There were
I
other
mean,
movies.
there's
Oh
like
yeah,
5 of
and they're
them.
all great. Yeah, they're fantastic, and it's all
You think of a preposition and it's
circle.
in the title.
Yeah, pretty
Beneath
much.
the planet, next to the Planet of the Apes. It's
Yep. Battle for
Above,
the Planet of the
around, across.
Pretty much. But and the reason why I ask you, Nick, is because I've never watched a full episode of Star Trek in any of
Whoa.
its iterations.
Shocked.
It's always been hard for me.
You remember that rope we were talking about?
So
Which-
where do I start? Because I get different opinions. A lot of people really love Next Generation. So they'll tell me to start there. And then some will say start with the originals. And I just don't know. It's too much.
I would probably start with Next Gen, and I might not even start in order of like from maybe the first episode, but not going through the first season until you start to really like the universe, and then you'll get more out of it, because it does take a little bit. We're used to better effects in sci-fi and streamlined storytelling where they take their time, which I appreciate, but modern audiences aren't used to that. So
Makes sense.
I would probably start with Next Gen, but person to person, as I get to know people better, like when I introduced my wife to Star Trek, I started with Voyager for her, and now she is big into Star Trek.
In fact, she'll
Yeah.
be moderating the Voyager episodes, which is why they'll be taken so seriously.
Awesome. Yeah, you got to have that soft entry, you know. Because I really love Star Wars. When I was trying to get my wife into Star Wars, she kept on putting it off. She's like, "Oh, well, we'll have. I'll watch it when we have kids." It's like, no, we're gonna watch it soon.
Just for context, Rick, what are your kids' name again?
Leia and Luke.
Yeah.
What,
okay.
for real?
Yeah. So
Nick
that's
found
not
his
Daddy.
mirror. Nick found his mirror in the Star Wars universe because he should share what is the middle names of his kids.
what are they, Nick?
It's just my oldest son. His middle name is Garrick, which is from Deep Space Nine.
Yes. Oh,
All right,
fantastic.
nice.
Huge fan.
Isn't it great that we get to do that? So
Yeah.
There's no
So
way that's
you-
going to backfire on a resume sometime in the future. Like, what's your
Well,
middle name again? What is this?
That's why you can always do middle initial. It's fine.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So when you introduced your wife to Star Wars, you started with Phantom Menace, right? Going in order?
No, never.
Oh,
never.
get the
Never.
Nick's
So-
just instigating. Don't listen to him.
I cornered her because when she was pregnant with Leia, she was in bed, and I said, "We're going to watch this now." And of course, you got to start at A New Hope, and went from there, and then went back to the prequels, and then by that point, finally, Force Awakens comes out, and we're on the path. So she loves them. And then when we were thinking of a name for our daughter, that was the first name that I said. Just threw it out there just to see what would happen, and it stuck. There were no other names ever. Like that was it right there. It was either that or Ripley, something strong female name,
Really? Okay.
I approve of
okay.
all of these. And you must have a lovely wife. I think we would be great friends.
I think so. But yeah, you got to get and I feel it because like Star Trek, I want to, for what everybody says about it, I want to watch it, and I know I'd probably love it, but I find it really hard to bring myself to watch it. So that's why I always ask people who are big fans of it, like, sell me on it, like really sell me on it.
Watch the movies.
That's what I hear too, especially Wrath of Khan.
And there's a lot of strong female characters in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I put Next Generation as my show to binge for quarantine because I really like it. There's lots of episodes. They do really good different styles of episode too, so it's not too repetitive, even though you'll see some of this is one of their time ones or a holodeck. But I didn't pick Voyager because when you're stuck at home, you don't want to be escaping by being stuck away from home. You're lost, abandoned. So Star Trek
is a little too close to home, doesn't it? Like, they're stuck in the Delta Quadrant again. Oh man.
So yeah, and my buddy actually, he says Picard is just phenomenal.
It's a beautiful show. I think most of the Trekkers or Trekkies, whatever, we're flexible.
We are? I had no idea. Okay.
We are. We're united couch potatoes, okay?
Oh, that's right. Union now.
We've watched Star Trek Picard, and it's a gorgeous show, I think. I don't think a higher praise could be given to it. I do think you need to have a little of Next Gen as your backdrop before you walk into it, but I think you can enjoy it without Next Gen. But it's so much more meaningful if you've watched the original series, just because that's the foundation of the character.
The other CBS Star Trek that came out recently that's been on CBS All Access, I can't remember the name of it now. Nick,
Discovery.
Discovery, yeah.
Discovery, yeah.
I thought that was a great show too. I think CBS is on their weird, awfully programmed on-demand platform has made some really great shows that are really hard to get access to.
Yes,
it's true.
So I just started watching Discovery because I knew I had to watch Picard. So we finally were like, okay, CBS, you win this round. 2 Star Trek shows.
Here's your $8.99 a month. All right,
they have to use the property. I mean, it's a cash cow. So
yeah, they announced a couple more shows coming out. Even another animated one, and I think they announced 2 more. In addition to the cartoon that's coming.
That's interesting.
Well, one of them is a short internet short series. But I can't think of the name of it right now.
That's cool. That could be an interesting direction.
Yeah.
Can I tell you guys a story real quick while we're on the topic of Star Trek?
Sure.
Now's a good time to go get a beer.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you my LeVar Burton story.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, will we have to take your word for it?
Oh,
yes. Love it. Thank you.
All right. So LeVar Burton came to my local Barnes and Nobles, and I was in high school, so I was really excited to just go there and see LeVar Burton because I loved reading Rainbow as a kid, and Roots was awesome and everything. So I was like, yes, go meet LeVar Burton. So we get there, and there's a huge line to meet him. There's people dressed up as Klingons and stuff. And it's crazy. It's a madhouse. As I'm waiting in line, one of the ladies who works there comes up to me and she said, "Hey, do you guys have a copy of his book?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, I'm sorry, you can't be in line." And I said, "What? I need a book." And she said, "Yeah, it's a book signing." So I said, "Okay, well, you ruined my childhood dream." and I walked away dejected. Now I was just joking with her just for laughs because I was a jerky high school kid. So I go upstairs and I'm upstairs at Barnes and Noble's like reading a magazine, and she comes over and she says, "Hey, did I really ruin your childhood dream?" And I said, yes, ma'am, I'm crushed." And she said, "Okay, hang tight." So she leaves and she comes back and she has in her hand a ripped out back of a magazine with the advertisement for LeVar Burton's book on it. And she says, "Okay, here, take this, get back in line." And I was like, "Oh, yes. Awesome." So I got to get back in line. So me and my buddy are waiting in line, and we get up there and this one guy is like, hey, what all you getting signed? I'm like, I'm just getting this signed. He's like, well, here, I got these cards and I got all this other stuff. I can only get a couple things signed. So I grab his stuff. Now I get up there, right? And this is the best part. So earlier in that day, I had after school recorded the theme song to Reading Rainbow on a little tape recorder that I had. So I get up to the table, put the tape recorder down, press play, starts blaring Reading Rainbow, and I start singing along with it. And LeVar Burton starts laughing like so hard. And he thought it was so funny. And, he signed my thing and that was that. That was great. So we're hanging out a little bit more. They're closing down Barnes and Noble. We're going up the escalator out of there, and he's coming. We're either going down or he's going up, or we're going up or whatever. But we see him on the other opposite escalator. And he points us out. He's like, hey, those are the guys that made me laugh. That was so funny, guys. Thank you for that. So I got some praise from LeVar Burton for being that one guy that recognized him from Reading Rainbow, not just Star Trek. And that was
Rick,
great.
I will buy you LeVar Burton's book if you can tell me his name on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Geordie LaForge, man.
All right.
You own the book.
There you go. I will. It'll be Amazon to your face sooner than later. But that. Come on, man. Come on.
I don't want his book. I want him to read to me. Go the F to sleep. I'll take that.
He's got the wrong voice for that, and you know it. Come on.
No, he's done it. He's already done it.
Yeah, but like I said, the only person who really should be doing that was the Samuel L. Jackson, because he's the only person who really needs it. He wants you to go the F to sleep.
When he's right, he's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I have questions for the couch potatoes here. I don't mean that in a negative sense.
We don't take it.
Fantastic. Okay, so Rick and I were talking about this in that the situation we're in where we're sitting on our couch and we've been here for what is it? How long have we been doing this crap?
Doesn't matter.
About a month.
44 years. Yes, of course. Yeah. So
give or take.
Yeah. So I sat down to watch Star Wars today because my kid has seen it. We've seen it like a year ago, and she's 5, so she does not remember it at all because she's got the brain of a goldfish currently. She's working on it. We do letters every day. So the point is that we sit down to watch this epic, and it's not as interesting as I thought it might have been. And I don't know if it's because, and I'm not saying Star Wars isn't great, but is the quarantine binge watch thing less about like a giant long story epic, or is it something like small self-contained episodes? Which is better? Which is going to be the most quarantinable like desert island thing to consume currently?
I think it's going to depend on the person, because it actually bore out in our poll. There were some people who gravitated way more toward comfort classics, especially sitcoms like The Office was hugely popular in our poll.
Yes.
Community.
Friends.
Yes.
Community. Friends isn't bingeable right now because they took it off Netflix, but if you have cable and can get
HBO.
on CBS,
No, HBO's picking it up in May when they release HBO. What is it? Plus?
If we're still in quarantine, I'm done. Quit.
Right. The question was quarantine, and I'm trying to remain hopeful here. But so some people gravitated towards sitcoms, but then there are some people who gravitated more towards the longer stories, just because those are the things that you can really get immersed in and kind of escape from the world and not have to think about it, or will be enticed to keep watching episode after episode if you are stuck on the couch. Which is why I think Westworld was so popular, because that's one of those kinds of shows.
It hits it right between the two. Like it's a self-contained story. Like you could essentially set it down and then come back to it later by being done with an episode and coming back for the next episode later after you've done dinner, or you've washed your bed sores or whatever it is you've been doing in quarantine.
I've just been washing my bed sores the whole time. That's all I'm focused
I don't
on.
want to speculate about bed sores.
Every hour you got to rotate. It's very important.
Change the sheets. So where do you guys stand right now? Are you more into the casual watching or the bingeable serial
And he means
you just
personally,
get
because like
sucked in.
the show is one
Yeah.
thing, but like what do you actually like when you're done doing the couch potato thing for the day? Are you sitting down to watch The Office for the 1,400th time, or are you trying to find something new?
I know I personally try to have one of each going at one time. So
Like simultaneously on two screens, because that's amazing.
no, I don't think I could handle it. I would have an aneurysm, but that's okay. But when you want to rotate, you're tired of the bleak escapist drama, or you need not to laugh so hard for some reason. It's good to have a couple to kind of rotate back and forth. I was watching, we actually just did a collab with a Mr. Robot podcast, and we're going to be publishing a series on Mr. Robot. So I was binging that. We actually had a few people recommend that one too. I was binging that for a while as this started, and that was tough. So Mr. Robot is kind of apocalyptic in its way.
You mean watching the dystopia on your TV and then looking out your window and seeing the same dystopia isn't euphoric?
Yeah, because I wanted to
standard measurement. No,
I had a good recommendation, but now you're making me question it.
Which is what?
It's Jericho.
Oh, nobody.
I got convinced to watch Jericho a couple years back, and it was phenomenal.
I think they're airing that on CNN right now.
Yeah. Turn on the TV. But yeah, I think that probably might hit a little too close to home. I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't come up in the poll, but it is. We actually have a running list of our panelists, and even panelists adjacent have recommended a bunch of shows to talk about in the course of our future. Jericho's on it, but nobody talked about it in this quarantine poll. So
I wonder why.
Little close to the chest there.
Yeah.
So where do we find these polls that you are talking about? Are they on a website or on your Facebook, or what? Where can we find you?
No, these are actually. This is more of a producer thing. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Secret
We're not
sauce.
privy to it. Understood.
Yeah. Because we do have 40 panelists that are actually on the roster.
How do you juggle 40 panelists?
Well, very carefully with skill and tact. And I mean, they're not all going at one time. We probably have, I would say, maybe 20 to 30 active panels, but they're not all going at one time. So it's just a matter of managing the different people, and we use a lot of different platforms to kind of keep everybody straight. Right, Nick? You're quiet.
Yeah, I'm quiet. It helps when I'm on a panel with my wife, so she could say, "Hey, check your messenger," and then, or she'll just answer for me.
Now it's all coming out.
Yeah, Nick, we gotta
Respect.
we gotta get your
Respect right
Where
there.
do you stand right now, Nick? What do you currently? Are you in the serial, or are you in the easily watchable non-story?
Because there are next generation movies to watch too. I'm just saying.
That's true. I do think the show that I think in this, in quarantine, I think 30 Rock is a really good bingeable show that I'm watching every night. It's
Liz Lemon is the best.
Yes, we just watched the kidney episode, Donate a Kidney. So
yes.
I'm about to have some night cheese.
yeah, yeah. So if you could end the night laughing, I think that's helpful.
I think it was, and oh man, I have to say no spoilers, but I think it's great that what is his name? Jack McBayer's character.
Jack McBride. Yeah.
Kenneth?
Kenneth.
I think that it was great, and no spoilers, so skip ahead 15 seconds. I think it was great that Kenneth was immortal at the end. that was just the craziest thing ever, and it made perfect sense for his character, so I loved it.
Yeah, and when you rewatch, there are little things throughout, like he was just talking about his parrot that he's been raising for over 60 years. And that's a season 2 thing.
It is totally casual, like just, oh yeah, this parrot I've been raising for 60 years. How old are you, Kenneth? Don't worry about it. No big deal.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's pure comic gold, man. I wish there was something close to it right now. Is there?
Well, Close to 30 Rock. There's
Yeah.
a couple of really good comedies I can toss out for consideration.
Throw 'em out.
Let's hear about.
We
I got to
need a
write
good
these
laugh.
down.
So one is The Good Place. I
Oh,
don't know.
fantastic!
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
the last season, right? Like, are they
Yeah,
done now?
they're done now. Yeah,
Ah,
but
bummer.
4 perfectly encapsulated, intelligent, well-performed. See, I don't even know how NBC greenlit this thing because this is not usually in their wheelhouse. But
Ted
they
Danson.
did.
That's how they greenlit that. Ted
Yes.
Danson.
Yeah, yep, that's all they needed.
But
Yeah.
Kristen
point.
Bell as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
but Ted freaking Danson. I mean,
Sam Malone, come on.
Sam
Yeah.
Malone is saying like, "I'll do a funny show. This would be great." Yeah.
no, they said, hey, remember that guy from Becker? We need to get a show with him.
That's something that no one has ever said in their entire life.
Remember that guy from 3 Men and a Little Lady?
Oh,
This guy, we need to bring him back.
You mean Steve Gutenberg?
No, but Steve Gutenberg needs to come back. And here's a good thing for you. If you have Showtime, it's called Party Down.
Yep.
Yes,
And
that's on our
He-
list of recommendations.
God, he's doing an episode, and it's phenomenal. It is so good.
And
Love
isn't Sarah Habel in that one, Nick? I think she is.
Yes, my wife's college roommate's in that episode. She
What?
Yeah, and you can listen to an episode of Couch Potatoes Unite with an interview with her because she was in season 1 of Riverdale as well.
Oh,
All right.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so while we're on Riverdale, and Brian and I are trying to figure this out, okay, because we have not watched this. Is it the Riverdale that Archie and his friends occupy, but like,
Oh, come on.
what is it?
So that's half of it.
Okay.
It is the Riverdale. It is the Archie characters. However, it is not the Archie comics you grew up with.
Okay.
It's the
Is it
dark-
more sultry?
Yes.
So it's a little sultry, but it's also the dark underbelly. It's the humanity that you don't get to see behind those comic squares and pages. So they all have issues. There's an obscene amount of murder in such a small town.
Is that a pun?
Not intended, but sure. But there's a lot going on in Riverdale, and it gets wackier season by season. So that's about as much as I can say without spoiling it.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, how did they make the Archie comics into a live action TV show? So I guess that's the best explanation that I could get for it. All right.
Yeah, I would just say watch it, but I would also warn you.
About what?
Well, it's going with zero expectations and absolutely no feelings.
That's what people say. That's what people say about a series that's like, it's kind of okay. It's not great, but like I liked watching it, but I also don't want you to feel like you have to like it. Like when I tell my friends about like a series that I really liked, but I liked it for completely stupid reasons. I'm watching
The
Community
Real
again.
Housewives?
Oh, get the F out of here. All right, so watching Community again, and for like the 4th time, 6 seasons in a movie.
You don't have to
What's gonna
explain
happen.
yourself, Brian.
And
You're okay.
I only like that show because I feel like I could be Joel McHale in that series. And so when I tell somebody
Why?
that
You're not a lawyer.
neither is he. So the premise of the show. So but telling somebody I really like that show, like saying like don't go in with no expectations. It's kind of funny. You might like it. I don't know. It's like saying it's a pretty good show, but like I'm not going to stake my name on it being a good show. I feel like that's
I
kind of how
would.
you're hedging
I
your
would.
bets right now, like about Riverdale. Like
I
it's
would.
pretty good. You don't have to worry. Like you don't have to feel like pressured to like it. I just want you to like maybe take a look at it. Maybe it'd be pretty good. I don't know.
Okay.
It's a fair assessment.
Okay.
Okay. Since Brian put it out there so boldly, staking your name on it, I want all of us right now. Let's start with Nick.
What are you doing, Rick?
All-time favorite show.
Ooh.
No, your all-time favorite show, hands down. And you got to say that you're staking your name on this show. This is your favorite.
Oh, MASH?
Ooh.
Nash.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Could you hear the question mark at the end? But
And the show was
No,
the period.
actually,
But yes.
That's great because I think, I grew up and MASH was on, but I was never interested in it because I was too young for it. But I think, and same thing like Everybody Loves Raymond. I did not like it when it was on, but then I saw it as an adult with kids and I'm like, it makes sense. So I think MASH might be the same way. Am I right?
You didn't go to Korea, Rick. You didn't go to Korea. I don't know why you're bringing it up like that, but okay, fine.
But I didn't go to space either. So
Did you go to war? Because it's really a war satire.
no. Yeah, but I love satires.
It made a lot more sense during the Vietnam War, I'm just saying. So,
Yes.
not that wars really stopped since then, but
And why? Why, Nick?
Why? It's really the first comedy drama. Like, it balances those well. So you get episodes that are slapsticky, vaudevillian, but you get emotion, you get attached to these characters. By the time you get to one of the later seasons, you don't want them to go home and you feel bad about it. And then it's a good social commentary too. So any show that can handle something like that while still being funny. And I've watched that show a couple times now and I still laugh at some of the stuff, and Alan Alda is just amazing. So I would recommend it.
Is it like Scrubs in a way?
Oh,
I would say Scrubs pulls from it a little bit, but Scrubs is more, the dream sequences are so, like, they might as well be two-dimensional cartoons.
You take
like, MASH doesn't go that far.
You take the one-liners that Hawkeye throws out in MASH and replace them with dream sequences from with Zach Braff, and you got the same show. Like, same pacing, same kind of vibe, same kind of like, okay, we're dealing with life and death on a daily basis, but this is why we laugh. Oh God.
Yeah. But both shows and both shows were commended on trying to take like the medical part as true to life as they could in a 22-minute episode. So yeah, I think there's parallels there, but
you've convinced me. I got to watch MASH now.
Have you not seen it? What?
No, I mean I've seen it as a younger man, yes, but I've never sat down and actually watched it. Like I remember it vividly, but not any episode or any storyline or anything. So no, I do need to go back and watch it.
It's one of the best shows that's ever existed. Yeah.
You're in luck. All 11 seasons are on Hulu, and that would actually be perfectly timed because we have an upcoming panel covering MASH, which Nick will be moderating.
Okay. I got to listen to that. And Brian, give me your password.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
No cops heard that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, because that's what Hulu's worried about. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah. To Kylie.
Hi.
You're on the spot.
Okay.
Your favorite all-time show.
The show you can pin your name on and be like, this is the one that I will, and if anyone asks me, this is what I'm going for.
I have two. Does that
okay? No. That's better.
Cheating.
Better.
Let's do it. No.
Nick, you don't get to say anything.
You don't allow Nick. No.
Nick is the moderator, right? No.
Oh no,
because you'll go against it. Brian, you're the moderator.
Right. All right, I'll allow it. I'll allow two, but you got to be 100% on both. So
yes,
let's hear it. Let's hear it, Kylie.
So the non-controversial pick would be Buffy the Vampire Slayer. All 7 seasons are on Hulu. If you haven't watched it, because her name is Buffy, which was me for a while, get over that.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is.
Do you love Angel by extension?
Well, I'm just saying, Sarah Michelle Gellar is actually my age, which if you know her real age, I just dated myself, but okay. And it's just, it holds up very, very well. And even though there's a lot of apocalypses in it, it's done with humor and coming of age grace. And I think that even though 20 years have passed, it's gone off the air almost, it's still a very witty, very poignant show.
And it wasn't
episode.
So let me ask you this, because the movie was pretty much taken away from Joss Whedon, right?
Yes.
It's his true vision of what he wanted it to be, right?
It is.
Okay.
Yep. And I think it's superior to the movie. People do have the movie held in their hearts in a special place. I I could take or leave the movie.
It has Paul Rubens in it.
It
Yes,
does.
it does.
It does.
And Luke Perry.
And Luke Perry. All right.
Oh.
Who's also in Riverdale
know.
for some reason.
Ah,
What?
why is Luke Perry in Riverdale? Hold on.
He's
Stop.
Archie's dad.
Oh
Is
my
he?
God.
Yeah.
Does he have killer burns?
Does he what?
How do you,
Does he have killer sideburns?
He has moderate sideburns, not Dylan sideburns.
hold on. How do you sign up for Riverdale? I need the directions. How do you do this? I gotta see this.
It's on the CW, but the first few seasons are on Netflix.
Ah, all right. I'll give
Brian.
it. I'll give it a couple episodes. Like I got nothing else to do. Literally,
I'm
I got
not
nothing
saying
else
my
to
name
do.
on it. I'm not
Yeah.
Jughead better be cool. That's
All
all
right.
I gotta say.
Kylie, I gotta hear what number two is for you.
Number 2 is the controversial pick based on how things ended, but I'm still putting my name by it, and that's Game of Thrones.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
Now I'm gonna give you my personal take on Game of Thrones in a very short sentence. I got to season 5 and I bailed.
Howard.
Yes,
I
Coward.
got to
You got
season five, and I was just tired of watching 3 hours of
radness.
oh my radness. Radness was season 2 through 4. Season 5 was just like we're putting people in the right. It's the chessboard in season 5. We're moving people into the right place, and we're talking about how they get into the right places. And I just don't care. Like I lost interest so quickly. I don't know what happened.
Well, then but after season 5, it accelerated at a breakneck pace that was unlike the first few seasons.
Which is
And
what
so-
everyone on the face of the planet has been telling me, that like right after you quit, like it got really good. And I'm like, I don't believe you for a second, because you were telling me that season 2 was really good, and I was like, I'm not sure about this. They said that about
Hey,
The Walking
Kylie,
Dead, and
I'm
The
with
Walking
you.
Dead was not what it was. What people told me it
Walking
was.
Dead fell apart.
Those are not the same.
No,
That is apples and kumquats.
all I'm saying
Not
is
at all.
I've been
Fell
burned
apart.
in the past. I've been hurt. I have a tender soul, and I'm not ready to be hurt again.
Okay, we'll
Bring
get to
back
that.
the trust.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And I think after we all answer our favorite show, we should get to that. What shows have you been burned by that you just gave up?
Oh, well, Rick, we need
Well,
to
we'll
hear,
get to that.
Stop for a second, Rick, because I'm moderating this now. So there is
Good job.
we have to hear. We've already heard your commentary on everyone else's pick of the shows, but I need to know what show you're going to pin your name on and say this is the show.
You know what
that-
show? You know what show?
I'm not being any part of that. This is totally third party. You have to tell us what your show you're going to be like, and I will tell my priest, my next door neighbor. I will tell everyone that this is the show that I think is the best. Go ahead, Rick.
So I have a number 1 of all time, but I also have a very close number 2 runner up. That's it just the number 1. I will say it without anything holding me back because I just love it and I don't care what anybody thinks. But number 2 is definitely right up there next to it. So number 1 is Lost, by far, hands down.
How do you cut someone out of a podcast really quick? It's really important.
You don't have that power. I do.
Hey, I'm the moderator. Okay. I am the one who moderates.
I will say that Lost was a great journey, and I was massively obsessed with that show. But what's your take on season 6 without spoiling it?
Okay, love it. And let me just kind of tell you as an overall why I love the show. Without trying to ruin anything, because there's just way too much to ruin.
It's too late.
Most people don't
It's
get it
lost,
anyway.
so it's pretty much ruined when you start. I'm just saying.
You can't really stream it right now unless you're paying for it. So
It's true.
sucks for all you guys who did watch it. Anyway, what I love about the show is the characters are not just black and white, which I think a lot of shows, a character is either good or bad, and there's no in between. They might have an arc, but they never really switch sides or whatever, or there's no gray areas. That's what I loved about Lost is there was a lot of gray in Lost, even with, and I really like the whole misdirection is Lost, kind of like Game of Thrones, is they gave you something really consumable that everybody got hooked on, and then they hit you with the nerdy mythology later into it. In Lost case, it was third season when they hit you with the sci-fi aspect of it, time travel and stuff. So by then you're already hooked and you either continued on or you dropped off. But you had to still see what was going on. What I love about Lost is it even took even longer than that to get into the real mythology of the show, which is this long chess game. And even with the person who you would see as the overall villain of the show is not really a villain. He's just a man who was never given an option. And that's what I really liked about the show. And the 6th season, that's what I loved about the 6th season was you had his story finally. And it also has one of my favorite characters of all time, John Locke, who I think is one of the most tragic characters of all time. A man who believed beyond any shadow of a doubt that he was put there for a reason. And, spoiler alert, took him to his death, but he was willing to do it to have a purpose, and by doing what he did, he changed Jack's mind and made Jack who he was meant to be. So I think it's a really cool show in that sense that there's a lot going on in it, in so much that even each episode has a lot of hidden stuff. I mean, you really have to peel the layers back on that show. So I thought it was one of the most interesting shows I've ever seen in my life. Number 2, Battlestar Galactica, the reboot.
Sure. Frack.
So yes, yes. And Battlestar takes it a step further with The Plan, which was a movie that they made after it from the Cylon side of things, which was really interesting. If you haven't seen that, you got to check that out. But overall, just amazing show. And I think it's on Prime right now. So if anybody hasn't seen it, really check that out, because that is something that you'll just want to, after each episode, just keep going. And that has a lot of really deep meanings in it as well.
Those are both on our list for future panels. I would add that.
I want on. If you do any of those shows, I want on.
Okay.
So bring me on.
So the thing of that, the common denominator between those two shows is that it's not a small story arc you're dealing with. You're dealing with a long,
it's huge.
serious
It's a lot
thing.
to put in.
That's true.
And I am not okay with that. Like I can't sit there and absorb that much storyline. Either I'll get bored and I'll put it down around season 5. That's about as many hours as I'm willing to put into anything.
You have a history of being weak, Brian.
Yeah. It's called having a style, and a certain style of an MO is what they call it in the murder. So,
Let's take a turn. I was going to add that Lost is actually on Hulu right now.
well, perfect.
Is it?
It is, yeah. So if you want
Brian, now you definitely have to give me.
I watched Lost all the way up through. When did they see the polar bear? When was that?
That was like
first season.
Yeah, I bailed as soon as they were like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess there's a freaking polar bear or some shit. I don't know.
It's
Just
actually
figured
really
out.
interesting why the polar bear is on there.
I'm sure it is. Like I'm sure it is. I'll put it. I'll put it. Yeah, whatever.
Isn't it just
What's that?
global warming?
No.
Did you watch that show?
Because it's called Lost because the polar bear is lost and it's not where it's supposed to be. That makes perfect sense. Okay.
A lot of
Credits.
things are lost.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Brian, if you get time, please watch it and then come back and talk. But I want to hear your pick, Brian.
All right. So, okay. Well, this goes on what we were just talking about. It is not the long form that really thrills me. It is not the epic storyline of these two things happening. It is the things like the self-contained 30-minute episodes of this story happened. Like the sitcom is a perfect bingeable, easily digestible thing. And the best sitcom that has ever existed on the face of the planet was the 1982 epic of Cheers.
Cheers is a great one.
Glenn Charles, Les Charles, James Burrows, all making a perfect thing that was like it's just like going to the bar. Like if you were missing that aspect of your social life of going to the bar, go ahead and watch Cheers. You know what? Because you get to meet up with this round of characters that you get to see for 30 minutes, and then you get to go home. You're done. Or you can stick around if you want, because it's bingeable now. I'm sure it's on Netflix at this point.
It is.
Yep. And so you can sit there and watch one episode of it, and okay, I got to do these chores to keep my house from being a complete wreck while I'm stuck here all day. Might as well do the dishes and watch Cheers. Or you can watch an entire season of Cheers, and you get to see Sam and Diane duke it out over the entire.
Wait, that
thing.
was my question for you, Diane or Rebecca?
Ooh, that's not a question. That's like a religious thing. You can't get into that right now. That's too deep.
Why? We have to ask the hard questions.
That's a better question for your priest. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
Dear Father.
Dear Father,
So wait, by
I
extension,
have
you
sinned.
like Frasier.
I have not stuck it out for Game of Thrones. I stuck it out for Westworld. I stuck it out for a bunch of other series, but Cheers and Frasier I have seen back to back, 100%. And
I think Frasier's great.
I think Frasier's a phenomenal show.
Agreed.
But it is a like time capsule of the 90s.
It
Like,
is.
Totally.
And that's what makes it so awesome. It's like you're doing a history lesson every time you watch it. Like you're like, remember that thing that was like a thing in the 90s? Yeah, it was in that show. And the same with
Friends is as well as Seinfeld.
Same with Cheers. It is a time capsule of the 80s, but kind of referencing the 70s. It was kind of like what the 80s thought of the 70s. And like in particular, it was what the 80s thought of the 70s bar scene. And it was just kind of cool to see. Again, the whole premise is Sam Malone's an alcoholic who owns a bar.
It's true.
That has a hairpiece.
Like, okay, hold on. That is all his real hair. That is 100% his hair. And he was just playing around with that hairpiece nonsense. It was, but okay. So like Ted Danson. Okay, going back to the Good Place. Like Ted Danson has got to be one of the best sitcom type actors because no matter what he says, you 100% believe that he believes it 100%. Like he could say like, all the stuff he says about demons in the Good Place. You 100% believe that that's 100% true.
You do?
I got something to add here, and I read that Nick, you're a Seinfeld fan.
Yes.
Okay, so do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you got to. And Ted Danson's on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I have
throughout the show.
Okay.
And he's playing himself too.
I have thoughts about that
parody of it.
particular show. It's the same show, the same thoughts I have about any show that's kind of like makes you cringe. I don't know, like The Office is a wonderfully written show, beautiful, like the UK version and the American version. I can't sit down and watch it. I can't.
Why?
No. Hold on. Because it's too like the awkward things that Michael does are way too close to the awkward things that I do in real life.
So what you're saying is you're Michael Scott?
I'm not saying I'm Michael Scott. I'm saying
Or are you David Brent?
I'm as awkward as Michael Scott. I am uncomfortable as Michael Scott is in the
Are you
entire
Pearson
episode.
Bryan?
Not yet, but maybe if you keep making jokes about me, I don't know.
Okay, so
That was up.
British Office or American Office?
The British Office is awesome. It's 2 wonderfully contained series
And 2 specials.
and 2 specials.
And Life on the Road with David Brent.
That's true.
Ooh, I haven't seen that. I've just seen
Oh,
the...
you got to see it. It's on Netflix. It's great. Check it out.
And it launches a bunch of careers. But the American Office is 8 seasons, and they kind of took what the UK Office did and shot it off like a rocket ship and made it its own. So
They really did, because in the first episodes, it was almost an exact copy down to the jokes of the British Office.
exactly.
Well,
And then it finally found its feet, and it just became this runaway success of brilliance. But it did kind of hit a lull towards the end, and I gave up on it for a little bit.
They got rid of all the good characters.
Well, they
Yeah, after
lost
Michael left. I
Michael,
think it
yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
they lost
Yeah.
Michael. That's what
End
you
of story.
I'll tell you what, though. So I gave up on it, and then when the last episode premiered, I watched it because I'm like, I owe myself to watch this. I got to see how it ends. And then I saw that he came back, and it was just he came back with the best line ever. That's what she said when Dwight says, "Michael, I didn't think he'd come." And then I went back and I spoiler. Sorry, God, I got to get better at this.
You're not going to get invited to that panel. You know that, right?
No, I'll be better on the panel.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right.
I'm very excited right now.
Sure.
You guys are the first human contact like Brian that I've had in a while, so thank you.
It is kind of awesome to talk to adults, by the way. Like it's like my favorite
especially
thing.
about our favorite things. Yeah. It's such a bummer when you watch non-TV TV right now. It's good to talk about fun TV. So
Yes, we know.
it really does.
A show that's Office adjacent that I'm only 2 episodes in, but has plenty of cringeworthy moments, if that's what you're looking for, is Extras, which is Ricky Gervais.
Yes.
Love it.
But in 2 episodes, it's funny and uncomfortable at the same time.
Okay, and one more, Ricky Gervais, because we're talking about him, Afterlife.
Yes.
You already mentioned.
Thursday premieres tomorrow.
Okay.
And I told you, Brian.
Yes.
Yeah, Afterlife season 2. Gotta watch that.
That premieres tomorrow?
Yes, season 2 premieres tomorrow, which is for anybody that's not listening today, which is everybody. It's Friday, April 24th.
That's awesome. I love Afterlife and Derek are 2 of his shows on Netflix that are both really good. It's a balance of like some dramatic moments while still being hilarious.
Oh yeah, and he's just a brilliant writer.
Yes,
I got to give him a lot of credit. The guy's gold. And if you have HBO, also watch Extras because he also, not Extras, Life is Short, because he also created that with Warwick Davis, which is hilarious. So yeah, anything that he does, I'm all for it. Oh, and Stephen Merchant, his partner, has on HBO, he has a show too. What is it called? Did you ever see that one, guys?
Oh, that one?
No, hold on. It's on HBO, and I'll tell you, it's a really good show. It's called Hello, Ladies. That's what it is.
I have not watched that one.
Watch it. It's very short. It's 2 seasons, and they did a movie, and it is fantastic. It's his writing partner, the tall guy that he calls a goggle-eyed freak in the office.
Yes.
It's him, and he's a Hollywood. I don't know, he's like a writer or something, but it's like he's a very awkward guy, and it's funny, and he has a roommate who he lives with that it's kind of weird with, and it's really good. But just like Ricky Gervais's stuff, very well written, and it's good stuff. So I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Check that out.
So if we want to get in touch with Couch Potatoes United, how do we get in touch with Couch Potatoes United?
Well, we have a variety of ways you can contact us. We have an email address at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com. We have Facebook. We have Twitter at CPU Podcast. We have Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite. We're available on all of those platforms. And then our website is really a blog site. We'll get fancier soon, I promise. But it's couchpotatoesunite.wordpress. We actually had a plan to go forward with that, and then quarantine sort of separated everybody, and now we're like, we can wait. So, but it's
Now, did you base the name on the acronym CPU, or was it a happy accident?
Actually, it started. The story, in a nutshell, is that it started off as a blog by me because I have an unfortunate TV addiction, and a lot of people kept talking to me about it. Like, what are you watching right now? What would you recommend I watch? Hey, have you watched this show? Is it good? Like, I didn't know how I became that person, but it happened. And so I started a blog, and then nobody was talking to me after I started the blog. So I was like, well, that sucks. I'm going to make this a podcast. And so I called it Couch Potatoes Unite from the get-go. And then that became the podcast moniker. CPU is exclamation point. It's actually CPU exclamation point.
Ooh.
Okay. Right.
Not to be confused with like a computer thing. Okay.
Right.
That's what I was wondering, if it was a clever acronym.
I mean, it's clever in the sense that it's the first letters of words. But sure, it's more clever than I meant it to be. Yes.
Like I said, happy accident.
Yes.
When's the next episode of Couch Potatoes Unite coming out?
It comes out, well, actually,
Ooh.
Typically, we do Wednesday publication, but next week we're doing a live podcast. We hope streaming online. We hope
How are you doing that?
I think we're going to be broadcasting Zoom. Is my
All right.
plan.
Okay.
But we're going to be talking about the Crisis on Infinite Earths mega crossover event of the Arrowverse.
Yes.
With our DC
What is that?
series. The Crisis on Infinite. Are you a DC comic book fan?
Yes.
I am to a certain point.
So there was this huge story called Crisis on Infinite Earths, which then the CW shows that are all DC-like appropriated to make its big. They do an annual crossover where they combine all of their casts, and this was the past one, this past mid-season, and so we have an ongoing series.
Is Swamp Thing on there?
No. Get out of here, Rick. I swear to God. Go back to the Rick we were talking about. Come on. So
actually, one of our DC panelists would love that you have said that, but that was not DC Universe. So, not on the CW.
As a huge fan of The Flash, I love the crossover episodes. They're fantastic.
Yes, and Nick is actually part of that panel. I moderate that panel. It's our spiciest panel. They tend to
hate each other.
Spicy house show.
Like all things DC, a lot of hate.
There's a lot of arguments and teasing and debate. we have a British. He calls himself the token Brit. His name is Spencer. He likes to instigate things. Nick might be an instigator once or twice in his life.
You're saying a British person instigates some kind of conflict? That's amazing. I mean, totally unexpected. Never saw that coming.
Malarkey.
And then I have some family relations on it, and it just tends to be a very animated group. So it'll be a lively live podcast.
It sounds like the most fun thing ever.
Yeah. I agree.
All right. Well, we'll leave in our show notes all the links so everybody can reach you guys. But Brian, let's close this off with, I think everybody should rapid fire recommendations for everybody stuck at home right now. Just a couple that you think that nobody knows about, or that you say you gotta watch right now, and try to make them pretty easy, like they're on Netflix or Hulu or Prime or HBO.
I got one. If you haven't seen the Paul Rudd masterpiece, Living with Yourself, stop everything that you're doing, drop it all, like whatever is in your hand, throw it on the ground and go watch it right now. It's a Netflix original, and it's got to be one of my favorite shows because Paul Rudd talks to himself.
Paul Rudd.
In a way that no one else can. Yeah. Like it's an amazing concept. The first couple episodes really drag you in. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't finished it yet because I got so into it. And I was like, I have to dedicate special time to this. And I've just been, and you're going to find this hilarious. During this quarantine, I've been kind of busy. I mean,
that is hilarious.
Yeah. Who knew? I had no idea. So but yeah, that's the show I would tell you, anyone who's like trying to, like, I just need to sit down and watch something interesting. That show blew my mind based on the way that they tell the story and the characters they have playing in that. And Paul Rudd is one of the most entertaining people to watch right now.
He's a national treasure. He doesn't age, and he's Ant-Man. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I picked it up. I mean, it's amazing.
That's a triple threat.
Right.
Do you have any other recommendations, Brian?
If I would say that if you haven't experienced Cheers on like a large scale, as far as like watching a whole season of Cheers and watching those characters sort of develop. I mean, if you've never seen Rhea Perlman go from like being a really angsty, angry barmaid to someone who has like a real relationship at home that she has to deal with, like it is beautiful to see Rhea Perlman do that. But at the same time, like, okay, I only have time for 26 minutes of comedy, so let's watch one episode of Cheers. That's my binge. That's my binge show. If I'm gonna do something else, if I'm working on something and I need something in the background, put on Cheers.
All right. Let's go to Nick.
All right. Well, if you're like me and a lot of your TV time you have your kids running around, I'll give you one that the kids will like, but I can't believe how much I'm enjoying it, and that's the new DuckTales. It's an actually...
I'm writing that down right
There's
now.
a new one?
No, he's 100% right. That is the best show on Disney Plus right now.
It's the storytelling. I can't believe I'm saying this about DuckTales, but it's a good storytelling. There's mysteries. You're finding out what happened to the nephew's mom. You care what's going on with Donald Duck and Scrooge. It's really good.
It's deep, like on a weird level for Disney. Like I didn't no idea.
Love DuckTales too.
And then the cast, and then if you like the classic one, there's so many Easter eggs to the classic one. Lin-Manuel Miranda is Gizmo Duck. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, like Disney was like, all right, we need to make a serious freaking series about DuckTales because this is a totally untapped resource. We have to get into it. Oh man, it's beautiful. Excellent recommendation, Nick.
Thanks.
Yeah, and Disney Plus is knocking it out of the park right now too. I just showed my daughter Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, that's a good one too. My 4-year-old thinks Chip's name is Chip Chip Chip. That's how he says it.
That's awesome. Now, what's your besides that? What's your other recommendations?
I would check out the Umbrella Academy on Netflix. That is a very entertaining show that hopefully season 2 will come out soon.
I'll pay whatever it takes to make season 2 come out because that's a brilliant freaking show that like I feel like Ellen Page in particular like is killing it in that role, even though her role is not all that like primary, but it's a fantastic show.
Yes.
Anyway,
I'll check it out. All right, I'll go, and then Kylie, I want you to end.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna fire off a couple here. I already said Afterlife, of course, Lost. If you can watch it. If you have HBO, Girls is really good, and The Leftovers is fantastic. Not enough people know about that. Netflix In-Betweeners. You love it?
I've been recommended it, like that and The Leftovers. Actually, those two shows have been pushed on me quite a bit. I haven't watched it yet.
It's the same kind of nonsense that people with The Wire, like you have to watch The Wire. It's the best show ever, and like The
Wire is one of the best shows ever.
It's a show. Yeah, it says the guy from Maryland. Whatever.
Yes, and I'll stand by it. And then Mandalorian, of course, if you've never seen it. Fleabag. Fleabag is fantastic.
You were supposed to only have 2, Rick. Come on.
No, I said I'm rapid firing here. Okay, I think I'm done. But those are my suggestions.
My turn?
Yes, Kylie. Please, let's hear what you have to say.
All right. Direct from the mouths of our panelists, I would say Stranger Things. If you've not watched Stranger Things, you have to watch Stranger Things.
What rock are you living under if you haven't seen Stranger Things?
Agreed.
Are you a fan of season 3? Do you like season 3 as much?
Yes, okay. I loved I like all of the seasons, and I know people make arguments one way or the other, but I actually really enjoyed season 3. It's slow to start, but by the time you get to the end, it hits you with every emotion you can think of. And the show is so nostalgic. Again, aging myself, I would have been roughly a little younger than those people, but it's a very visceral kind of 80s flashback, and what a love letter to that decade. And there's so many Easter eggs.
Oh, yeah.
And the theme song, when it starts, it sets the mood for the whole thing, and it's scary, but it's not too scary.
Such a great theme song.
Great job.
I think we're going to get a copyright infringement here.
I sure hope so. If I get a cease and desist letter, that means I'm a great singer. That's amazing.
Okay, rapid fire, Kylie. What else?
Okay, from the panelists that have watched them, because I haven't watched these yet, they've recommended The Witcher on Netflix.
Yes, I couldn't even say that. Yes, toss a coin to your Witcher.
Okay, that's fine.
Toss a coin to your Witcher.
Okay.
Valley of Plenty.
We've all heard the song. Now stop.
If you have a Game of Thrones vacuum in your life, or a Superman vacuum, because it's Henry Cavill, you watch The Witcher. I've seen a couple of episodes. They apparently get really great. I just would like to sit down and kind of absorb it myself. I was watching it with a couple of friends.
Do it. It's so good.
That's what I've heard. Killing Eve was a big one that they talked about.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That one is kind of broken apart. You can get the first 2 seasons on Hulu, and then the third season on
Netflix picked it up, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
I don't know if they're planning on it. It's kind of broken up between a couple of different streamers, but you can find all of the seasons. And then finally, we had a lot of love for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which has been on for a while.
Yes.
So
is that on Hulu?
That is on Hulu, yeah, and NBC and a whole bunch of others. Actually, YouTube TV, if people subscribe to that, it's all 7 seasons are there, and we have a big panel waiting to talk about it, and it's going to be fun. But if you want laughs and totally silly TV, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is your wheelhouse.
Thank you.
You know Terry Crews is from Grand Rapids, right?
I did know that. Yes.
Yeah.
Where did he get his muscles in Grand Rapids, or did he get them somewhere else?
He was born with them, man.
I just imagine him being a very buff baby. I don't know if that's really the case, but I just imagine he probably started that way.
He's always looked like that. He was bald too when he was young.
I think Buff Baby is the next time you'll see him in an Old Spice commercial.
You know that if the marketing firm comes out with that, we get a cut of that, right? Like that's
Buff Baby is actually
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Buff Baby is the sequel to Boss Baby.
It is absolutely not, because the sequel to Boss Baby is Intern Baby. So that's
What if it was Boss Baby, but it was Bruce Springsteen as a baby?
Oh, get out of here! Stop.
That's weird.
So the thing about tying the knot is that you got to go around at least 10 times and make sure it's nice and tight, but it's got to be able to like snap shut at an instant. So like you don't. Again, the trick is 10 feet. You got to be able to jump from a tall height, because you don't want to be dangling at the end of that rope. You want it to be snapping over. That's what you're working for, Rick. Okay.
Do I meet the requirements for the panelists with their jokes?
I think we have room for you.
Okay.
I say no. I say fire Rick. Me.
See, I feel confident to drop a Bruce Springsteen joke because you dated yourself, so you would know if you guys were like early 20s, nobody would know what I'm
You
talking
say the
about,
boss,
so.
and you're like, "What are you talking about?" I don't know. Is that it?
I'm in the wheelhouse right now. Okay,
Blinded by the light. I don't even know what that. What is that? I don't even.
Now, I will say you can make the jokes, but that might not stop the judgment. I'm just going to tell you that.
Bring it on. Bring it on. That's what I'm here for.
Or like a colorful one. That way it like makes it festive, instead of making it sad, like if it was just a plain rope. Anyway, so, we've been Connect Grand Rapids, and if you want to get at us, we're at at Connect Grand Rap on Twitter. Or at Connect Grand Rapids on Instagram, and then we're at Connect Grand Rapids at yahoo.com if you need to email us. If you have anything interesting you want to tell us about, or if you got series of TV shows that we have to know about, we are literally bored to tears. I have cried 14 times today because I'm so bored. So if you got anything you need me to see, just let me know, because I have nothing else to do.
And then one more time for everybody out there, since you dropped it a long time ago, how can we reach you?
CouchPotatoesUnite.wordpress.com is our website /blog where we host the podcast. We have Couch Potatoes Unite podcast at gmail.com as our email address. Then we're on Facebook, easily searchable, at CPU Podcast on Twitter, and at Couch Potatoes Unite on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank
you. Yeah.
I got to go watch some TV now. So
we had a great time. All right. Well, thank you. And we hope to, when this is all over, maybe get together in person for if you have any like actual in-person panels live or something like that.
Yeah.
We would love to be on that or something. Brian will bring the rope.
Yeah,
I'll make bad jokes.
It's going to be a lovely blue rope, nautical rope. That way, it doesn't matter if it gets wet or not. I'm just saying, it's just good to come up. I like to be prepared for most of these situations. That's all.
Waterproof rope is always welcome.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You'll fit right in.
And with that, we shall end here. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Greg.
guys.
Thanks, Brian.
Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation Point was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me, Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kelsey Rezmer. Kelsey played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole kit and caboodle was engineered and produced by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. Give us stars, give us comments, give us reviews. Let us know how we're doing. Send us a message. We might just read it on the podcast. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what we should keep, what we should toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, where we have a guest book, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media, Facebook, Twitter at CPU Podcast, and Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We always have several more new episodes coming down the pike. Just listen to our intros, and if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, just find us. We are everywhere and searchable wherever you look for things on the internet. You can search for us, or you can subscribe at our website, our channels, our social media accounts. Stay up on our new events and episodes. Until the next time, all available episodes of Connect Grand Rapids are available wherever you get your podcasts. Like us, don't you know? In the meantime, we will resume our regularly scheduled programming next week. So until next time, until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned. Bye-bye.